Hello and welcome to another Live at the Hive. Finally, we are here, and Roger Patterson is now standing in sunshine down in West Sussex after a few light showers. How are you doing, Roger?
I'm doing okay, Richard. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, fellow beekeepers. Yeah, literally with 2 minutes to go, it was sunny, and then all of a sudden, down came the rain. But interestingly, before 10 minutes to 15 minutes before that, the bees told us that that the rain was coming. They really poured back in. Anyway, sorry we're late. But before we start, my my daughter is here. She's not a beekeeper, but she's got a little story to tell you that that I think might be interesting. Jen, over to you.
Ahoy, beekeepers of Britain. I went to a Chelsea Flower Show last weekend, and there was lots of displays that involved bees, but one was Bees for Development, and they're big fans of you, Dad.
That's just what I wanted.
This is pure narcissism. And yeah, that's all I've got to say.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Well, thanks very much, Jen. When she told me, she did add a few more bits, but I won't worry too much about that. But I will actually make the point that we have got two very good beekeeping charities that really do help beekeepers abroad. And there are, of course, people in places where a little bit of beekeeping makes quite a lot of difference to their income. Of course, Bees for Development is one, and Bees Abroad is the other. So I will mention both. Now, as most of you know, and this is being put out by Bibber, what we are interested in really is locally adapted bees. And although I haven't been to any of these other countries, I'm fairly certain that just the same as anywhere else in the world, these countries really do need bees that suit their own environment. Otherwise, there's a lot more management needed, probably extra costs and that sort of thing, and it will be difficult for them to do their job. So I'll just make that point. But whoever Jen spoke to, if you recognise Jen, I'm glad you enjoy the presentations. And as with anybody else, if you can publicise them, then please do so. Okay, so although it's half an hour later than planned, what have I got for you today? Well, a week ago last Thursday, which will be now, 10 days ago, 10, 11 days ago, this colony here was united. There was a queenless colony that was already in existence. And what I did was I brought a nuke, a queenright nuke from another apiary, and we united it at the time. What I didn't say and what I should have done, and this of course is one of the slight problems with live streaming, there's no storyboards, there's no script or anything like that. What I should have said to everybody was make sure that there's absolutely no foul brood, because of course disease can be a little bit of an issue. But quite frankly, if you've been keeping bees 12 months, you really should know what diseases are about and be able to recognise them, because after all, they are notifiable diseases. And how can you notify the bee inspector if you can't identify them? So we've got this to do. What I'm going to do is just look in, see how the bees have behaved. Now, I'll remind you that we had really food in the bottom, and we united the queenright stock to the top. The reason for that was the queenright stock was smaller than the existing stock. Now, normally, of course, bees would have food above them, not below. So what I'm going to try and do is, if I've got time, and there's clouds coming over there, I can see them over those buildings, so I better hurry a bit. So what I want to try and do is to put them in an order that bees would normally expect anyway. So that is fairly tall. I think we've probably got something like 14 to 16 combs there, probably just a bit too many to bring it down to a single brood chamber. But what I try and do is get the brood at the bottom with the food above. So that's that one. I've got two similar situations here, which if we got a little bit of time, I'll also show you. There's one on the end there. Can you pick that one up, please, Martina? There's one on the end here, which is in exactly the same position. Unfortunately, we got a failed queen in there. I think it was one of those that disappeared. So I brought a queenright nuke here. That is the same situation as that, so there's really no point duplicating that. This one is slightly different because this queen in the bottom has always is in the process of failing. Now I have to be honest and say I haven't looked inside this colony now for about perhaps 10 or 12 days. But I knew there was a problem, and what I've done is I've brought another nuke home that I can unite the two. So with this particular one, I should have a queen in the bottom there, although she is laying probably 50% drone, 50% worker. The last time I had a look, they were putting up queen cells. Queen cells. So we might have a virgin queen running in there, and that might take up more time than we've actually got. Of course, if you've got a queenright colony and something wrong with the other one, whatever it is, you've usually got to get rid of it first. So if it's a queen you don't like, or a drone laying queen, or a failing queen, or perhaps one that's laying a lot of chalk brood, you must get rid of that first. Otherwise, bees, I'm afraid, don't. I know some beekeepers say, oh, the bees know best. In a situation like that, I can tell you very definitely they don't, because they will probably pick on the wrong one. Anyway, at the moment, that's enough for me, because those clouds over there are getting thicker. So what I'm going to do is, if I can find it, where did I put my file? Oh, that daughter of mine. Put hers on top. So I'll just have a look in here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this probably a lot quicker than I should do for the streaming, simply because of the weather situation. Oh, incidentally, while I get this sorted out, incidentally, it's probably fairly well known that I don't particularly get on too well with Christmas, but I've already had my first Christmas present. Somebody who didn't know of my hang on, I heard a beat there. Can you hear me? Still hear me, Richard?
No, it's gone off.
No.
It's gone off again. Martina, sort him out.
Hello, can you hear me now, Richard?
No, still.
Power off. Power.
No, you've gone. Sorry about this, folks. Whenever we come to putting the veil on, it's always an issue for us, this one. Sorry about this. I'm not quite sure what's happening with Roger's microphone.
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're back on. We've got you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem because there is a button on the side here, and stupidly I keep pressing it, but it's a bit difficult to see up there. I've already had a verbal smacking from Martina, but she tells me she's suffering from a hangover, so I'm not going to take too much notice of her. Now, if you can all believe that, if her husband Chris is watching, I don't know if he's aware that she's suffering from a hangover or not, or she just confided in me. But I don't mind causing family disruptions. Right, so here we go then. I hope the smoker, which has been going for nearly an hour, over an hour now. Right, okay, a little bit of a clue. Now this is all wet, obviously, but we've got some newspaper at the front here. Now, very often bees are chewed up into very, very fine bits you'd hardly recognise it was newspaper, and sometimes they chew into quite big bits. A couple of days ago, there was a much bigger bit down here, which was about 120 millimetres long and about 20 millimetres wide, something like that. But of course, because we've had this downpour, it's caused a little bit of a problem. Okay, so effectively these are one colony now. Normally I would go in after about a week and check it out. Now, one thing I didn't mention was that if you've got a colony that's been queenless for some time, what of course can happen, especially if there's no brood, what of course can happen is that the ovaries of some of the workers start to develop and they become lone workers, and that can sometimes cause a problem. I'm hoping that if everybody who's watching has got two fingers, they can cross them on my behalf, because I may well need it. So although there's a feeder on here, there wasn't any food put on the colony. Now they're up here. Let's just have a look and see what we've got here. Yeah, have a look down at. Can you focus on that, Martina? Right, now these bees are fairly quiet, so it's looking as if things are okay. What I will say at this time here, I don't know what temperature is now. It's probably about 14, I would think. And sometimes when it gets a bit cold, better check on the underside of there. Sometimes when it gets a bit cold, the bees contract, and you take the ground board off, and they stick their tails in the air and expose their stings. This hasn't happened here, right? So what I am going to do is I'm just going to take the top off, and you ought to be able to see what the bees have done. Oh, look at that. Right, so they've started clearing the newspaper away, and if I'd have left it, I suspect they would have just gone straight up through the middle. Now, somebody at the last session, when we set this up, did ask about putting division boards in the side, which of course are these jobs here. There wasn't really any need for it because the colony really wasn't that strong, and it wasn't being fed. The only income, of course, would have been the ivy. So I'm now going to take the newspaper off, and it's looking as if you can see what the bees have done. Now that was 2 sheets.
I made a mess of that, Roger. I hope you read it before you used it.
Well, these other colonies, because I'm short of newspapers, you see, I don't buy newspapers. I want to try and use this on one of the other colonies. Ah, now there's a piece down in there, look, Martina, that the bees have chewed up and they started to take out. Okay. Right, now I'll just have a look in here and see what they've done, because I want to see if the queen has started to lay down in the bottom, because if she has, I'll have to treat it differently than if she hasn't. Here's that very fine. It's probably better to see that there. Look, Martina, the lights on that are better. This is what they do. The bees chew the newspaper up very finely like that. Can you see that all right, Richard?
Yes, yeah, we can see those newspaper fibers.
All right,
yeah.
so Martina's hand isn't shaking that much then. Right, that comb is now dry, so I'll just go across here. They seem calm enough, so it's looking very much as if the queen has been accepted. Let's just try and find out where she is. We've got liquid food in here, but that could have been the existing food. You can see they just started to seal it there, and interestingly, they put it closest to the entrance, and it's clear here. Now it may just be, but I don't know, that this has been moved up, but it doesn't really make sense. The same there, exactly the same there. It's almost as if it's around the wrong way. Right, so I am going to whiz through here. Yeah, I cannot understand this. That's unusual. So don't forget the book that I'm right on the point of getting out. Beekeeping Challenge, what you're told. This is not what bees normally do. And very often I tell people that bees normally put the food at the back of the back or above them. All right, I've got no food here. Now this is interesting. They've got food there, and they started to empty the food out here. Now it's looking as if they're expecting the queen to go down and lay in there, which of course it will leave the food above them. Of course, I don't know if that is the case or not, but it's probably. What we got here? We've got drones. Yeah. I was about to say something, then I forgot. So this then, they must have had eggs over one side, and I didn't notice it last time, but they're all drones. So that's probably.
Is that a queen cell, Roger?
Well,
I
don't think
gap.
there's any. I don't. Oh, yes, there is. Yeah. 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 Nothing in it worth having, though. Now it does make a bigger question. What's happened to the queen that was in here? Of course, this is over one side. Look, and when I put it together, united it. I didn't notice that, but it is live at the hive. So these things happen, and they happen to beekeepers too. So there was just one. I better just go back through here and see if I can find a queen. But it doesn't make sense. Look, because it's looking as if the queen has just started laying, or something has just started laying. But almost the youngest is almost ready to be sealed. So I'm just wondering if and this was united 11 days ago now, wasn't it? 10 or 11 days ago. So I'm just wondering if the new queen at the top effectively took over, because there's no other brood younger than that. So I don't think I'll bother looking any further. Okay, right, now what I have got is food in these middle cones. Now, probably the easiest thing to do would be to put that box on the bottom. Can you pick this one? Put that box on the bottom. So what I'll do is I will have a look here and see what we've got. That feels like being a heavy comb. Yeah, there's quite a lot of food in there. They're a little bit runny, these bees, but I'm not too bothered about that. Look at all that food there. Now, I can't remember whether and there's virtually nothing in it. Incidentally, it's a plastic foundation, that one. I only just noticed it because of the black plastic down the side here. If you can focus on that, Martina. Yep. Okay. So that's one. Let's see what else we got. There's queen. Right. So either that queen or the bees sorted out the. It's difficult to know if it was a drone laying queen or a laying worker there. I know people say they can tell. I can tell you that it's not as easy as that. Right, now this is the queen is actually laid pretty well in that area there. No brood break at all. So that would be absolutely ideal. She looks a nice queen anyway. So I think what I'm going to do already is put this on the bottom and that one above it. And then if I feed reasonably heavy, then they will fill in the gaps. So that's also quite good, because she's laid up well there, and I assume the extra bees that was from the bottom colony has given the colony a bit more impetus, and they can allow the queen to lay more eggs. So that's virtually all full of eggs and young larvae. So that is actually quite good. I'm pleased with that. It's not going to make a particularly big colony, because don't forget the well, let's call it the parent colony in the original position. A lot of those bees, of course, were old, so they're going to be dying off quite quickly. That frame is quite heavy as well. So what can I do here? I think probably the thing to do is to take a couple of those cones and put on the outside of this. If I leave these, in the middle so they can defend it easier. What I'm going to do is turn this round, because again they've got the brood back of the entrance. So I want to put the brood chamber back. What I'll do is I'll just spin it round, so that's where they should be. So I'll put these over the by the entrance. There's not that much food in that one. So if I can find a comb here with a bit more food in, like that one, I'll put that in there. No. So try and get the food where the bees want it. And then this one, which has got quite a bit of food in. This side here. And then I'll give it, hang on, I've got one frame there. Well, that on the outside there. So now I've got a nucleus there, which even on its own, I think has got a reasonable chance of wintering. So now what I'll do is I'll move this one to the side. There's one piece of newspaper that they couldn't get out. Whilst I'm here, I'll just mention my design of open mesh floor. It's a shallow floor, so the rim around the edge is only about 8 or 9 millimeters. That gives me two benefits. One is that I don't get cone built on the bottom, underneath the bottom bar, which I find a real pain. That's one benefit. And the other one is because it's a shallow entrance, mice can't get in, so I don't need mouse guards. So there's two benefits to it, which I find are a great help. Now, going on sideways from that, and it's also in the book Beekeeping Challenge, what you're told, there is the theory that mice can collapse their skulls in order to get into narrow places. I can tell you that is not the case, and I've dissected ever so many owl pellets, mainly barn owl pellets. So I've seen an awful lot of mouse skulls, and they are not collapsible. Anyway, that's just a little bit of an addition. So if anybody tells you that, then you can tell them with authority that that isn't actually the case. Right, that's okay. Can I actually show you this this design of box? It's exactly the same as a standard box, but when I started keeping bees, there were quite a lot of these about, and I've got a sneaking suspicion, but I don't know, that because you need a board on the side that's half an inch shorter, it might have been done perhaps to fit the standard length of board, or perhaps even the same material. That box is probably 60 or 70 years old. You wouldn't you wouldn't see it like that now. And of course, then it was soon after the war, and there were restrictions on timber. In fact, you had to have a timber permit in order to buy timber. But that's a history lesson that it's probably beyond the scope of live at the hive. Now, what I want to do is put these back the right way around. So they're going back that way. And the reason I want to put them back the right way is that the bees will have food above them where they expect it to be. So what I don't want to do is put food at the front at the bottom, and at the back at the top, all the other way around. So okay, so I'll try and put this lot in immediately above what we got below. 1, 2. Thought it didn't look in line. Getting a bit darker, Martina. I'll give you a race up to the house if you like. So let's just put this lot. Yeah, above. This all looks okay. Not happy with that. Now I'm not going to bother to put anything at the side because I really don't think it's going to do any good to the bees at all. But I'm hoping that will be that little colony will now winter. So on with the ground board. You notice it getting darker, Richard, or is the technology compensating?
No, it seems to be not too bad.
Okay. Now they will get a feed in a little while when we're off camera. Cool, the wind's getting up. Right. Okay. So just to recap what we've done, and so I can understand it. We had the nuke with the laying queen in the top, and just food at the bottom. Subsequently, it turns out that we've got either a drone laying queen or a laying worker. Don't know. It was a very small patch, probably no bigger than a tennis ball, and one comb only. But it was quite close together, which normally suggests a drone laying queen. But they appeared absolutely queenless a couple of weeks ago. So I really don't know what's happened. And if somebody who's been keeping bees nearly 60 years doesn't know, then well, I suppose really you could say, well, just because I've been keeping bees nearly 60 years doesn't mean to say I know it all. But I've seen enough of situations like that to know that you can't just say, oh yeah, it's a drone layer or drone laying queen without actually seeing the queen. Because in my experience, you can be fooled. Okay, so that's basically that. I'll tell you what, Richard, we'll stop now, and if there's any questions come in or any points you'd like to make, we will do that. If we've got any time, all I'll do, I think, with the weather coming closing in, is just to have a look at this one here, just to show you what the brood's like. I don't think we're going to have time to deal with it. So
we haven't had any questions come through yet.
That's probably good. That's probably good. Nobody's watching.
No, there are 74 that are watching live. So
right,
it's not too bad. But just a quick plug that Roger's got Colony Increase, the Roger Patterson method, available out now, as well as the Teaching Apiary, a brilliant resource. He's already told you.
Hang on a minute, Richard. This is colony decreasing, not colony increasing.
And
you're a good salesman.
Well, I'll try my best. And as you heard mentioned earlier, you've also got the challenge what you're being told, which is in the pipeline at the moment. Pat asks you, Roger, do you leave gaps in the frames for winter?
What does she mean, gaps? What, between the frames?
I think in the way that you've left that colony. Is that how you would leave it for the winter? What?
Two double brood. Effectively, you've got a double brood chamber here, haven't you? Is that what she means? I'll tell you what. Yes. I'll tell you what I'd like to do, and I keep meaning to do it, is to put holes in combs. You know, only a couple. You know, so you can get so you can get a pencil through. Let's say any bigger than that, the bees will close it up. And the reason for that is that in a natural nest, you always find holes in combs. And I think what's happening is the bees are using it for communication, also to cut down their time. But of course, it's difficult to work out what a colony is trying to do without putting it in human terms.
Yeah, she was meaning down the sides. So was there some gaps down the sides in that box where there were no frames?
Oh, right, between the comb and the sidebar.
Brood box, yeah.
No, not with you. If you get, I haven't got any comb here. If you get a comb, there's the bottom comb in the bottom box up against the hang on, I'll try. Yeah, I think what she means, I'm assuming that's Pat Holden, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she means those gaps where there are no frames there. Will you leave those for winter? Or what?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
massive gap down the side.
I'm okay with that. Sorry, I thought she meant on the frames, because you get these gaps down the sides of the frames here like that. That is usually done at the on the combs right next to the entrance. That's usually done, so you can usually tell which way around the comb goes. Hang on, we've got rain coming in, Richard. I think I'm going to have to close this lot down.
Yeah, closed up.
And get the kit in the dry. So I'm sorry, and it looks as if it's getting worse. So I'm dreadfully sorry about that.
That's all right, no problem. I don't know if you fancy bobbing back to the house and just doing a couple of questions without the video.
Well, I can't because the Wi-Fi is down here, see.
Right, okay, no problem. Yeah,
Hang
well,
on.
we'll leave it there then.
No, I'll tell you what. I've got a coat here. I've got a coat. Don't worry. Yep. Martinez, do you want to put that over the top of the camera? Okay, yeah, carry on.
So a question, would you not be better putting some insulation in rather than leaving those frames down the side?
Quite frankly, I don't think you would be. It would be nice to see what happens with sensors. My guess is that everything would just, even if with insulation in, I think everything would just get cold. I very rarely bother with insulation. I'm fairly certain that little colony will come through. If you've got these soft bees, then you're in a different situation. Some of them struggle to get through winter at the best of times without that. But if you want to insulate. I wouldn't bother with that.
And another question. Go on.
But excuse me a minute. Even if you had a colony on, let's say, 6 or 8 combs, and you had empty combs at the side, especially if the here's the answer. Look, if you've got a normal colony, a big colony with food in all the combs, during the winter they're probably clustering on 3, 4, 5, 6 frames. They will abandon the outside frames because they're clustering in where the bees and possibly the brood are. So they'll abandon the outside ones. They're going to get cold anyway. So there's your answer. It doesn't make any difference. Not needed, I think. Mm-hmm. But somebody would jump up and down and say that I'm wrong. Well, that's fine. Like I say in the book, challenge what you're told. But if you want to insulate, please insulate. If you feel happy with it and you think it does a bees good, then please do it.
Gianetta asks a question. I don't think she knows what she's about to do, but she says, my beekeeping association advised that I place a super under my brood box for overwintering, yet Roger has advised to keep the food above. Could you explain which is correct?
Well, if they both work, they're both correct. Look what's happening in a natural colony. You always get brood and then food above it in a natural colony. And the reason for that is that you generally got a fairly narrow cavity, probably no more than 12 inches, 200 and whatever it is. No, 300 wide, isn't it? 300 wide. And it's deep. So with usually the entrance at the bottom, and I want to take this off colour. It would be easier for you to see me and me to see you. Are you still there, Richard?
Yes, we can still hear you.
Hang on, I've got. Wait a minute.
Doesn't look very comfortable, Roger.
Yeah, can you, yeah, okay. You got it. Well done. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Right, where were we?
We were just talking about putting the super under the
Oh,
brood
under
box.
super, yeah,
Or,
yeah, yeah. You always get the food above. So, I do not know where this idea came from of putting the food underneath. It's got to be a human thinking. It's definitely not bees thinking. So what do the bees do? If it's put on late, they're going to leave it. And because the bee, yeah, let's hang on. Let me try and mock something up before I possibly can. Here we are. Here we are. Right. If you've working single brood chamber here, the brood will usually be in the bottom, and if this is the entrance, it will usually be at the front. So the bees have got the food above them or behind, and the reason they'll put it behind is because we don't leave enough space above. If you put 3 supers on, or 3 brood chambers, or three boxes of any size, the bees will do what's called chimney. They'll go straight up through the middle because that's where they want the food above the brood. We're putting a crown board on, so we're forcing bees to put the food to the back. Now, if you put a super of honey on the top, the bees have got food above them, so they can do exactly as they do in a tree. They can go straight up. Now, if you put that box of food underneath, with the brood above, that is not what the bees are expecting. If you put it on early, the chances are that they will come down and they will remove that and put it above, and then possibly move the brood down to where they would expect to be anyway. If it's late and you're into sort of frosts and that sort of thing, the bees will cluster here, and they've got the food above them. Bees always eat upwards during the winter. The other thing is, of course, that if the bee's going to cluster here, you're leaving the entrance open, and these days, I'll say these days, in the last 15 or 20 years, you get wasps into the new year. We never used to have. When we used to have, well, certainly in my area here in West Sussex, we used to get frosts even back into September, early October. That usually knocked the wasps out, so you didn't get the problem. But now, because we're getting less frost, I think we had one frost in November last year, but I'm not too sure. I can't remember. So of course, see, you get a coldish spell, and the bees will go in a cluster, and you leave the entrance so the wasps can just go in and help themselves. I'm sorry, but I'm not really criticising, but what I'm saying is it just does not make sense to me from the bees' point of view. It might from a human point of view, but not the bees. Did you say it was Joanne?
No, it wasn't Joanne.
Okay, the questioner then. The questioner. What I'd say is that with anything like that, if somebody tells you to do something, do it on half your colonies and see how you get on. But my guess is that you could end up with isolation starvation, especially if you get a coldish spell and the bees are up here expecting the food to be above them. If the bees are in really tight cluster, they can't get at it. I'm afraid that advice is one of the things that really does worry me, because I think beginners especially are going to be picking it up, and they could end up with losses that they don't deserve. But having said that, I know of people who do it. I don't know many really experienced beekeepers who do it. So I've got to be quite forceful, because I'm on the side of the bees and I'm on the side of beginners, because they really do need good sound advice. And I'm sorry, I don't think that's very sound. If somebody wants to have a discussion with me, I'm more than happy to give my bit. Right, sorry, Richard, it's coming down quite hard now. Martina's going to get soaked, and so's the equipment. So I'm sorry, we're going to have to call a halt there.
Excellent. Thank you, Roger. We'll see you again soon.
If anybody wants to email me, I'm more than happy. You put my email address out there, and I might take a day or two to respond. Okay, so anyway, thanks very much. Thanks very much for your patience, and thank you very much for listening in. Thanks,
Roger.